giving you the real from A to Z surrounding the Dallas Cowboys. News, updates, rumors, transactions, takes, and more. So strap up, Cowboys Nation, and start your day off with A to Z Sports. Live with Will Steele.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go. Oh, yeah. Good morning, good people. Welcome to A to Z Sports Live. We're streaming live on YouTube. We on Facebook. And, of course, I am your host, Will Skywalker Steele. Boom! It's a hot one this week. I see y'all talking about the weather. I'm going to try to keep that up today and give y'all a nice hot show, all right? State of the unit, bringing it back. We're talking linebackers, so that means we're going to be evaluating all the linebackers in that room. And I'm going to talk about a player that I think is the X factor. It's not the guy y'all think, but he is my X factor in taking this linebacker room to the next level, okay? We will hear from new linebackers coach. He's really not new. Scott McCurley. We'll hear from LVE. And we'll talk about all the guys from the bottom of the roster to the top. What's good, Bomb Squad?
Bomb Squad!
Okay. Appreciate y'all for being here. But yeah, like I said, I saw y'all in there talking about the weather, man. Being from the East Coast, from Pennsylvania, I still have to remember that in the summer in Texas is not a normal summer. This is different. In my first summer in Texas, I was duped. I was lied to. I thought it was going to be, oh, this ain't bad. It's been 112 degrees 7 days in a row. Sick of it. I do love Texas, though, but I'm sick of this weather in the summer. I like spring. I like fall. God, man, this summer stuff make you stay in the house. And in fact, I think you're supposed to stay in the house because there is a heat advisory. It's dangerous to be outside right now. It's ridiculous, man. Seriously. No, it ain't really 112, bro, but it's 103, but feels like 117. That's what they say. It's ridiculous, man. Anyway, man, what's good, Cowboys Nation? Appreciate y'all for being here this morning. We're going to talk about these linebackers today. We're going to hear from a couple of the people in that linebacker room. And of course, I want to hear from y'all. Where's it at? Boom, there you go. 351-999-3787 is the call-in line to call in, speak your mind, tell me what you want to tell me about this room, which is probably the biggest question mark of the entire defense. So no roundup today. We're going to go straight into this thing and get to the goods, okay? For the last, what is it, June? 3 months or so, ever since the draft, ever since free agency, right? We've been talking about this defensive unit. We know that this Cowboys defense, in my opinion, is the best unit and really a consensus. I don't think it's really just my opinion. Like everybody believes this. The Cowboys defense is the best unit on the team. With that said, in the same breath, I think we can also say that the linebacker room is probably the one with the most question marks. Right? That's fair to say. There's a lot of youth on this team. There's a lot of, in that room, inexperience in that room. And that's what brings most of the question marks. Can't be perfect. With youth comes that P word. Potential. And potential can be a bit dangerous. When you're talking about trying to win now, you don't like to use the word potential, right? Like, what's the potential of a when you talk about a rookie coming in, you can bring up potential, right? Because you know these guys are likely not counted on to be the biggest part of whatever you're going to be doing. But in a room that is so inexperienced, you're kind of counting on some of these guys' potential to step up right now. It can be dangerous. Now, if you can hit on said potential, then it's only up from there. So let's take a look at the bottom of this roster and some of the coaching changes that I don't really call it coaching change. Let me not say that. Some of the tweaks at the top of the the leadership room in regards to coaching. So if you guys remember, George Edwards was on this team. George Edwards was technically not the linebackers coach. However, he operated as such. Scott McCurley was the linebackers coach. George Edwards was the senior defensive assistant, is what they called him. But he was in that room doing everything that linebacking coaches do. So now Scott McCurley takes over and has full control in 2023. They also hired Darian Thompson. Now, you guys should remember Darian Thompson, right? He was a former Dallas Cowboys safety, and he's now the assistant linebackers coach to help out Scott McCurley, who has been around. This isn't some new guy. He's been here in Dallas, and he's also been with Mike McCarthy for a long time. He was a Green Bay Packers defensive assistant for 13 seasons over there, including 4 seasons as the assistant linebackers coach. So he's got experience dealing with backers. He also briefly spoke during the draft show, during the actual NFL draft, and we'll get to that a little bit later. But McCurley, full control in 2023. Darian Thompson, now the assistant linebacker coach to help him. Both of these guys will be tasked with navigating an extremely young linebacker room, something that LVE had talked about at the Home Run Derby. He said, you know, what's crazy is last year I thought this room was young. Somehow, some way we managed to get younger. It did. Now, by years, right? Guys like Jabril Cox is another year. Damone Clark's another year. You know, Devin Harper's another year. But by experience, they're actually much younger because a lot of these guys don't have a ton of experience playing. So that's what makes this room a huge question mark. And that's what makes Scott McCurley and Darian Thompson's job and, you know, a little bit harder. So I'm hoping that these two can get the best out of these players. And it's including the down roster guys. And let's start off with Malik Jefferson. Okay. Malik Jefferson was signed back to a reserve/future contract. So he'll get another chance to compete to make this roster. He was on the practice squad all last season. He was actually in camp for most of the training camp as well. So he's been around for quite some time. Those who are here in Dallas, those who are in Texas, they're familiar with Malik Jefferson. He's a product of the area, went to Texas, and was actually drafted in 2018. However, the Cowboys are his 6th team since he's entered the league. So I don't really expect much from Malik, but I know he's going to play hard. And I know this is going to sound odd because he doesn't have a ton of playing experience on the field, but he's technically your second most tenured player in that room. So at the very least, he'll help guys like, Harper and Overshown and these guys kind of navigate training camp, as younger players, because he's been in a ton of them. He's been in a ton of training camps. He's been in a ton of, practice squads. So again, don't expect him to do much, but he will definitely play tough. Got a chance to talk to him, just happened to run by him last year down at the Star. And, his spirits were up. I think he understood the situation that was in front of him, that, he probably wasn't going to make the team. We were rooting for him and whatnot. But I think he felt like he was going to be back there on the practice squad. And honestly, that's kind of where I see it happening again for Malik. I think that he'll be back on the practice squad. That's pretty much where I see Malik Jefferson, unless another linebacker gets brought into the fold, some undrafted guy or some free agent, and then maybe Malik kind of tries to find his way elsewhere. But I don't really see much happening with one Malik Jefferson. Then you have Devin Harper, who kind of quietly is going under the radar a bit, right? Former 6th-round pick in 2022. When I say under the radar, I mean nobody's really talking about him. I'm not saying that he's done anything to talk about, but we're not really saying much about Devin Harper. 6th-round pick in 2022, saw no action on defense last year, but was a routine contributor on special teams in the first 3 weeks. He went on IR late October, I think around the 29th, and didn't see the field again, but obviously as a 6th-round pick, he's still under contract, so he's been brought back. Here's the thing about Devin Harper. he's a guy that played mostly special teams, right? Fix this here. Mostly special teams at Oklahoma State until his last year. A lot of people believe Devin Harper played a whole lot down there. He did not. He ended up playing a lot his senior year, right? He ended up playing a lot his senior year. However, before that, he was mainly a special teams guy. That's where he cut his teeth. And that's why I personally think he was brought in here in general, was to be a special teams contributor. But because of the room, he's got the potential to do more. Because of the room. But Bones Fossil, I think, has the biggest say in what we're going to see with Devin Harper. Y'all remember Luke Gifford. Luke Gifford stuck around on this team for how many years? 4 seasons, barely played on defense. But he was a special teams ace. That's what Devin Harper was at Oklahoma State until his final season. He was a special teams ace and a sub-package player. We need somebody to replace a Luke Gifford. Could it be a Demo? Sure, it could be, but I think there's bigger plans for DeMarvion Overshown. I don't know if there's bigger plans for Devin Harper. That doesn't mean he can just smash those plans in the face and wreck everything and become, a starting middle linebacker at some point. But I don't see that at this moment. I see him cutting his teeth as a special teams player and trying to make the 46 in that manner. Now, he's got some traits. He's fast, right? He's an explosive player, a bit undersized. I personally like Malcolm Rodriguez better out of Oklahoma State. The Cowboys could have really had their middle linebacker of the future, in my opinion, there. But he went to Detroit, and he's playing well in Detroit. Nonetheless, we got Devin Harper. But I think he's the guy. A lot of people talk about Jabril, and we'll get to him in a second. I think Harper's the guy that has to watch his back when it comes to a dude like Demo. When it comes to a dude like Demo and fighting for playing time, I think it's Harper, man. In a league that's a passing league, he's not a guy that's a pass cover guy. It's not his game. He's more of going to be a run guy, pass rush guy. He did a lot of good pass rush things at Oklahoma State in his final season, at 6 sacks, actually. But he's got the speed, the initial speed to get where you want him to get. Inexperience, so you see that, right? Like, he doesn't have the IQ just quite yet, but that comes with experience. A lot of these young guys, that's going to be the case. They don't have that experience, and that's the thing with Devin Harper. So I got Devin Harper as a special teams contributor again this year. I think he will make the team because the room is not deep, and I think they do need to carry at least 5 at the very least. Maybe they go 6. I can't remember how many they did last year. If somebody wants to help me, they can. But I don't think they're going to go super, super deep there. And he could end up being kind of that last guy that makes the team as a 6th-round pick. I don't think they're going to cut him yet, not until his 2nd season. So I think he'll be on the squad, but I think as a special teams contributor. So Devin Harper and Malik Jefferson are kind of the rounding out that linebacker unit, where I don't think Malik is going to make the team, but I think I think Harper will, as a special teams contributor. It's kind of where I'm at right now with him. I didn't put Land on here just yet because I'm not really sure what the hell they're going to do with him. But technically, he is labeled on our lads, at least, as a linebacker. But we know he's a pass rush guy. So maybe outside linebacker. That's why I think we did. Didn't we put Land? Did we put Land as a Leo? Or was that Johnson we put as a Leo? I'm not comfortable with where to put Land at yet. Maybe until we see preseason. I'm just not comfortable there just quite yet, man. But yeah, Jefferson, I don't see making it. Harper, special teams guy in year 1. Or year 2, I'm sorry. And that brings me to Overshown, speaking of special teams. That brings me to DeMarvion Overshown, a.k.a. Demo. Y'all remember we did the rating the draft with Demo. Demo was tricky. He was a tricky one because he's got a ton of traits, man, that I absolutely love from a football player. Fun traits. And with this coaching staff in Dallas, with the Frankenstein like Dan Quinn, it's very easy to see him do something with DeMarvion Overshown. What that will be, I'm not sure yet. But I know me and Vosh talk a lot about this. We view him right now as a will linebacker. But when we did our rating the draft, I called him the developmental WMD, a weapon of mass destruction, because he can play in that way. I believe for year one impact, though, I only had like a 2-star because I don't know if he's going to find a home in his first year. Like, I don't know. And when you listen to Coach McCurley talk about it, they're like, yeah, we're going to figure it out. But the dude showed that he can do a lot of things at Texas. He did some drop back things, obviously, as a safety. I mean, this is a all-American safety coming out of high school. Got to Texas, played his first couple seasons at safety, then they bumped him down. And then the final year, they bumped him down a little bit more, did some pass rush things. But you kind of see him figuring things out at linebacker sometimes too. Nonetheless, boy, when it's kept clean with DeMarvion Overshown, he is a weapon of mass destruction. And when you dig a little bit deeper with Demo, what I like about him is that I got a feeling he's going to figure it out. That's kind of what I've been saying about him. I don't know what he's going to do, what position he'll eventually find a home at, how they'll use him, especially with Dan Quinn here. But I feel like he will figure it out. He just kind of has that Micah Parsons, I love football mentality. And I'm not scoffing at that no more, because we know a couple players, a couple on this team or previously on this team, that it didn't feel like they had that mentality, but they might have been more talented, or they might have the talent, but they don't want to put in the work. I feel like Demo is going to put in the work. I feel like he has that mentality of, okay, look, I know I'm not a finished product, but I'll figure this thing out and help contribute wherever I can. So, yeah, year one impact, I did have a 2 because I still think he will be a special teams guy and a kind of sub-package player. Now, if he figures it out from a mental standpoint, then maybe. But one of the things I've learned over the last couple seasons under Dan Quinn is that they need guys in there that they can trust in this system. And Demo's a rookie. It just is what it is. I seen a better prospect last year deal with the mentality of the game, the mental aspect of the game, have his issues when there were other guys out. So, I just don't expect him to be a year one starter. I don't expect him to be a guy that's going to obviously wear a green dot. That's not going to be his game anyway. He's a will. But even playing like a will, you need to know where to be. You need to know when to wall off, when to, defend the edges. Make sure that you're not getting beat, not allowing the linebacker to get to you at the second level, helping out your guys. There's oftentimes you see the linebacker just dealing with linemen in the gap so that the safety or the DE swinging around or playing backside can make the tackle. Those are little things that DeMarvion Overshown will have to learn as he goes. And that's just the nature of the game. And I expect him to eventually do that. I just don't expect him to do it in year one to the point he'll be a starter. So special teams contributor is where I see him at. And a damn good one, by the way. Bones Fossil apparently is in love with what he can be as a special teams guy. But his ceiling or his outlook is different from a Harper, where Harper, I think that's where he's going to be. Demo eventually, I personally think Demo and Clark is your future, or should be your future, or will be your future, based off of not only the draft pedigree of Demo, but what they're looking at with Damone Clark, which we'll get to in a little bit later. So, DeMarvion, anybody think that Overshown will start this year? Just out of curiosity, anybody think he will start at will, essentially? The point, Kareem, is not that wills can't be green dots. I'm just saying he won't be a green dot. He won't be a guy that will wear that green dot. I mean, not for quite some time. Not as long as a J-Ron Curse and LVE are here. Maybe down the line. Yeah, the point is that they can't. I mean, we just saw a safety wear the green dot, which is also not normal, according to Barry Church. For those who believe he will be a starter, who is he starting for? And is it due to injury, or do you believe he'll just be a guy that gets it all figured out by week one to be depended on? See, the problem with that, though, is Kareem, because Kareem said he thinks Clark beats out LVE. I don't think they're vying for the same spot. I think Clark is not your middle linebacker. And we'll get to this in a second here. Let me come back here. Didn't mean to do that. We'll get to this here in a second. All over the place. I think we're underrating how much they love LVE. And we'll get to LVE a little bit later. But just looking at the whole, what people are saying here about Clark replacing LVE and LVE, they love LVE. You know, I'm getting it through my head. I'm not fighting it anymore that LVE is their guy at middle linebacker. Like it would take an injury, I think, for LVE to not be the starting middle linebacker. Do I think that Clark could be the future middle linebacker? Absolutely. 100%. Probably will be. But it's going to take injuries, man. I think for Demo to be a starter. It just is. It's going to take injuries. And if it's not, I mean, sure, there is a possibility of him coming in here and going crazy in preseason and knocking Damone Clark off the team, or not the team, but out of the starting lineup. I don't see that yet. Don't see it yet. I see him as a special teams guy and a sub-package player until they figure out the future of that room. It's no knock on anybody. That's just the way it is right now. So let's get to the rest of this room. Let's talk about Jabril. Jabril Cox is interesting because he is in the third year of his career, coming off the ACL injury in his rookie season, similar to the Michael Gallup situation. Problem is, Jabril Cox is going to have a really good offseason, like a really good camp, a really good mini camp, et cetera, because they did draft an Overshown, right? And Damone Clark and Leighton Vander Esch are your starters, and we'll get to them here in a second. So far, though, so good, apparently, when it comes to Jabril Cox and the offseason, and that's good. You want to hear about him progressing, especially in the passing league where he can be utilized as a guy that can cover some of these tight ends and be also a guy that's kept clean and free and can move around. But the biggest thing you want to know about Jabril is how healthy are you and confident are you? How is he moving around? We aren't there just yet for training camp. However, our guy Pat is down there, and we talked to Pat a couple weeks ago about it. And here's what Pat had to say about Jabril, his movements, and his kind of progression.
So Jabril Cox was exactly where he needed to be. He read, he reacted, and he got to the spot. Those three things, coming from a player like Jabril Cox, who is now a good bit removed from his torn ACL, yep. You knew he had the IQ to recognize the play. So we saw him recognize the play on both of those PBUs. And then he reacted. So now you're looking at his knee. Can he plant and explode? He did. How strong is the explosion to the point where can he get to the spot and beat the ball to the spot, beat the receiver to the spot where the ball is going? And he did. All three of those things I saw. He checked all three boxes, 2 consecutive plays in a row, 2 critical plays to close out the Cowboys practice on Tuesday, and then had another strong practice on Wednesday. So as far as the linebacker 3 conversation, I'm still waiting to see DeMarvion Overshown get his legs, and that makes sense. He's a rookie. Right. He hasn't had training camp, so we're not saying Overshown is a bust. We're not saying that. That's you get real football talk here, not clickbait stuff, whatever. No. Overshown, I would watch him closer in training camp. But as it stands, Jabril Cox has the lead for LB3 behind Damone Clark and Leighton Vander Esch, and that's based upon what I'm seeing in OTAs and especially this week in
minicamp is what he was going to say to end that there. But yeah, so Jabril Cox is currently in the lead for linebacker 3, which again is good news. It's something that you want to hear about his progression, because last year at this very time, he actually wasn't doing anything out there because he was recovering from his ACL injury. And even when he returned, I don't know if you guys remember this, but he still was ailing with something else, probably due to the ACL injury, and was put on a pitch count at the start of training camp, but the start of preseason, and really didn't get his feet all the way wet until the last preseason game against Seattle, if I'm not mistaken. So seeing how much further he is ahead of schedule this year is a positive thing. And we hope that Jabril Cox can remain healthy because he also has the athleticism. And that's one of the things that you'll see as a consistent thing here in that traits. Athletes. Dan Quinn wants athletes. He wants long athletes at that. When you look at Vander Esch 6'5", Clark 6'3", Jabril Cox 6'3", Overshown 6'3", he wants long, fast, athletic guys. And with the help on the interior, right? With the help on the interior now with a Hankins and with a Mozzie Smith, that'll allow these rangy linebackers to utilize that length and that range in the room. So Brillo has got a shot here to stamp his claim as LB3 on this team. Right now he's in the lead, but I'm pretty sure, Demo is going to have something to say about that, and Harper is going to also be trying to push. That's the thing about the room. There likely is only 2 spots that are stamped down right now, and those are the starters. Other than that, it is a competition. No matter if I feel like one player or the other is going to be a special teams guy or sub package player, LB3 I think is up for grabs. Looks like Jabril is leading the charge right now. Then you got Damone. See, for me, a lot of people have Overshown as the X factor. And look, I called him my developmental WMD, weapon of mass destruction, aka likely an X factor. He probably will be at some point. But for 2023, I'm bullish on Damone Clark being that X factor. We talk about Sam Williams having that year 2 jump. I think that Damone can have the Sam Williams type of year 2 jump we're talking about. I do. For Clark, it's about playing time, man. It's about more experience out there. The more he plays, I think the better he'll get because he's got it all the traits that you want, in my opinion, from a linebacker. He's got the athleticism. He's got the size. I think we kind of forget, dude is 6'3", 240 coming in, and that's without an off season, by the way. So he could legitimately put on more muscle. He's got the tools. He's got the work ethic. He's been glued apparently to LVE's hip to learn the nuances of the game. And you saw some of those flashes in his rookie year. Thing is, you also saw some of the inexperience factor as well, right? The slight hesitation sometimes we're trying to figure things out, and it got to him. But within that hesitation, right, within the false steps, you saw the crazy athletic ability. I remember that play against who was it? Chicago. Against Chicago, one of the linebackers or one of the running backs leaked out. Clark was on the other side of the hash, I believe. Chased the running back all the way, maybe 30 yards downfield, beat everybody in front of him. And that was a play where he was like, oh, okay, there's that speed that, Micah Parsons was talking about when he said that he might be faster than him type of thing. There's that athletic ability. I don't think this is going to be a guy that's going to be scared to stick his nose in there either once he figures this thing out. You just kind of saw the hesitation a little bit because, again, we have to remember spinal fusion surgery. He wasn't out there during minicamp. He wasn't out there during OTAs. He wasn't out there during training camp. Wasn't out there during the start of the season. Damone Clark didn't play a whole lot of nothing until midway through the season. And when he did that, he performed well, I think, when you grade him on a scale. Now, you saw some of the mishaps. You saw the false steps. You saw the inexperience. But he had the lowest missed tackle percentage among linebackers on your team. So I think the more he plays, he'll eliminate those false steps. He'll have a sharper IQ, which means he'll play faster. I'm bullish on Clark, man. I think Damone Clark is going to take a huge jump in 2022 or 2023. And we'll be talking about him going into next season as kind of, I don't want to use the word one of them ones, but a core guy on your team. I do. Obviously, I could be totally wrong here, but I feel like Damone Clark's got that potential, man, for him. I am too, Kareem. It's super excited for him because if it wasn't for his spinal situation, I think Damone Clark is a day 2 pick, at the very least, a late day 2, but early day 2 pick in 2022, 100%. It's good, Tuck. They're not going to green dot him this year. No chance with LVE on this team. But Curse. But I think this is your future guy. If Curse is not on this team in the future, LVE's got technically a 2-year deal. They can get out of it next year if they want. But once everything clears up in front of them, yeah, this is probably your future when it comes to the green dot. Very, very bullish on Damone Clark. Sometimes I've seen some people on Twitter that are not high on. I know my guy Professor O is kind of meh on Damone, but I think that Damone Clark has a potential here to be your next guy. Brian Gooseby
Super chat.
dropped a super chat, said Clark will be a dog this season. Game will slow down for him. Mentally, he said game will slow down for him mentally for sure. Right. That is really the biggest thing with him. If you watch his tape, the biggest thing was always about his mental aspect of the game, which comes with being inexperienced, which comes with not playing at all or training at all in training camp, mini camp, OTAs, any of that. Now, he was taking a lot of mental reps per George Edwards, but there's only so much you can do. You actually got to get out there, right? And you got to play. D Shift says, why is LVE not green dot guy yet? Clark going to pass him up. I believe LVE is one of the green dot guys on the team. So I'm not sure exactly what you mean. Hey, shout out to Law Nation in the building. He says, I got Damone Clark as our leading tackler this year. I mean, what did he have last year? 47 and 400 snaps, right? Lowest missed tackle percentage. You might be on to something, Law Nation. You might be on to something here. Because a lot of the times what I saw with LVE, and we'll get to him here in a second, and we know the negatives, but one thing that LVE did, though, is he would sacrifice, and this is going to sound crazy because he ain't technically sacrificing his body, but he would be where he needed to be so others can make a play, if that makes sense. Like, he ain't going to make the play, but he'll be there. And there was some frustration on his part last years ago, last season in the Eagles game. He was very upset with where people needed to be. And I don't blame him. And I ain't the one that's going cap for no damn LVE. But when you went back and you watched that tape, you saw the safeties and some of the corners and some of the edge. Guys not where they were supposed to be. And after that game, that was the most pissed off I've seen him since they cut Jalen Smith. And he came out and he was like, hey, we got to do our job. We have to be where we're supposed to be. And if LVE is going to be a guy that's going to help others in that sense from doing his job, that guy, Damone Clark, I think is going to be the recipient of that. So leading the team in tackles, I don't think it's far-fetched, bro. I do not think it's far-fetched at all. I actually like it a lot. Slim said, Damone Clark, the defense breakout player. That, like, we keep talking about Sam, and rightfully so, because Sam showed a ton more flashes. I just think that Damone Clark has the ability to have the type of second-year impact or second-year breakout or whatever you want to call it as Sam Williams on edge. Sam just plays a more fun position, the more sexy position, sacks and pressures and quarterback hits and things like that. But Damone Clark showed flashes last year. And now we got guys in the middle. Gonna keep these dudes clean. That's speed. Okay. And as we're about to transition to LVE, Glenn Capers came in here. He said, man, look, enough with all this LVE.
Super chat.
He said, LVE can't change directions fast enough for me. Yeah, not really his game. He has to see it and go. And speaking of LVE, man, probably the most controversial defender on the team. Had sort of a career year in the sense of, when I say career year, obviously his rookie season is his career year. But when you play 745 snaps, which is the second most of his career, damn it, I got to applaud you for a hurt guy. I mean, I just don't expect LVE to play a whole lot every year, and he plays 745. So I'll give him that. Most since 2018. If the return of Hankins and drafting Mozzie Smith, I don't think it's going to help a player more than it helps LVE. When we re-signed LVE back to this team, immediately, I think actually on the video I did, I said they better re-sign Hankins. There's just no way I'm bringing back LVE if I have to have him fight through trash all game, all season, whatever. Can't do it. Won't do it. He needs to be kept clean. You saw that throughout the season when he can just have a for sure fire gap to attack or one-way go. He was good. When LVE has to stick his neck in there, pun intended, things get a little funny. Now, again, that's why I said he does sacrifice his body. When I say that, I don't mean he's just flying downhill and blowing up linemen. No, he's more of a getting away guy to help guys get to where they got to be. But you absolutely need to keep LVE clean. You can't expect him to be a dude that's going to be a bulldozer or a bowling ball to open up things behind him. That's not his game, man. It's not his game. In fact, I personally liked more than anything last year from LVE his coverage ability. He didn't have 17 interceptions and pass breakups and all that stuff, but he was where he needed to be. Oftentimes making quarterbacks go a different way when he dropped in zone. He played that covered, or he played that Tampa 2 responsibility very well. Had a couple pass breakups in that. Got an interception late in the season. But I like LVE in the passing game for Dan Quinn. Long term, though, I don't see LVE sticking around here after this year, next year, because of guys like a Damone Clark or DeMarvion Overshown, who you want that type of speed. And once they play more, if Dan Quinn is here, once they play more, I think those would be his type of guys. But right now, for 2023, LVE's your guy, man. Whether you like it or not, LVE is the Cowboys' middle linebacker for this season. And if he's kept clean, I think the Cowboys can live with it. But it's just a matter of, do you believe there is a higher ceiling that could be reached without an LVE? That's kind of the question a lot of Cowboys Nation have, right? Like, look, all right, whatever. LVE's here, but can we be better without an LVE? Last year, not the case. He showed his value last year as a guy who wasn't on the field, and you saw he was missed. Just keep it a beam. Then when he came back in the playoffs, him and Hankins, by the way, LVE played well. He did. He played well. And I had to eat some crow with LVE because y'all remember the start of the season. I'm sitting here like, hey, dog, we got to do something with LVE, because you're seeing kind of the things we were worried about in the offseason. Things got a little better. Then they get Hankins and things get a lot better. Had a career year in the sense of missed tackle percentage. Was his best of his career. He didn't miss a lot of tackles. I thought he was playing well as a pass guy. He wasn't as annoying as I thought he would be for a full season. So I had to eat my crow as the year kind of went on with LVE. But at the beginning of the year, I was not with it. So now he's the elder statesman in that room. Now he's the guy that's going to be tasked to help these young guys develop. And they asked him about that a little bit at the home run derby. Here's what LV had to say about it.
You adjusted from being the young guy in the room to I'm helping guys. They look at me as the old vet in the sense.
Yeah. Well, it seems like just yesterday I was a rookie too, so it goes by fast, and I want them to realize like just this year and these coming years for them are going to go by even faster, and they don't want to let this opportunity slip for them. So they got to make the most of their opportunities when it presents themselves and contribute every single way that they can possible. So they just got to come in and work their hardest, put their nose down, and just keep grinding. And like I said, having fun, flying around, just being the football players they are, because there's a reason they're here.
One thing I won't get on LV about is his leadership. Just kind of talking to people down there, and you can even see it on game days, right? Or you can see it out on the field with, directing people, the physical leadership, but also the mental leadership in that locker room. He's a guy they look to, man. He's a guy and they should, because he's played the most. He's the most tenured guy, the most experience in that room. And he takes it with pride. Like, he holds that mantle with pride as, okay, I'm a leader in this room. I have to make sure I'm doing the right things for these guys. Some people lead on the field and don't say anything. Some people lead both on the field and off the field. And I think LVE, when it comes to leadership, is a guy that those dudes respect. And I appreciate that, because you need to have, with the room this young, go look at the entire room. There we go. with the room this young, you absolutely have to have somebody in there that they can go to. Hey, man, when they run this play action here and this guard does this, should I attack this way or that? You need to have somebody in there you can go to on the field. The coaching stuff has to happen mostly Monday through Saturday. On the field, you need that guy. And for as limited as he may be in certain aspects of his game, you saw his leadership on that field play out when he was gone, and also when he was on there. You saw Damone Clark play better when LVE was on the field. So I do have to give him his flowers in that aspect, 100%. But the room in general, very, very young room. Going to rely on these young guys to take the next step, including third-round pick DeMarvion Overshown at some point. And I forgot to play the audio, but I'll go ahead and play this audio. This is Scott McCurley on DeMarvion Overshown and what they kind of expect from him.
You know what? I think we'll get to a point where we'll feel him out and really know what he can do when he gets in here. But he is a very aggressive, fast linebacker that we can add into the mix. He can do a lot coverage-wise against backs and tight ends. He's a good rusher. He did some things on the line of scrimmage to rush the passer. So really a versatile player that I think we can mix into the fold as we need him.
Mix into the fold as we need him. I mean, he pretty much hit on everything. Good pass rusher. You can drop back. He does so many things. That's why I can't pinpoint exactly what they want to do with him yet until we get out there at camp, until preseason. And then you may not even know until after year one. I think it was Dan Quinn who talked about, hey, you may not know what these guys are going to be for you until after their rookie season. And he was mostly talking about Land at that point. But I think he was talking about Demo too. But that definitely makes sense for a guy like DeMarvion Overshown. He does a lot of things well enough, right? And you just don't know. He has a trace. 6'3", what is he? Hopefully he'll get up to 230, but he's 220-ish now. Can come forward, can drop back, inexperienced a bit from a run standpoint, a couple years at the linebacker position, but got to figure out what he's going to be. And I think Scott McCurley, the linebackers coach for the Cowboys, as he said right there, we'll get him in here and we'll figure it out. By the way, shout out to the draft show for that audio clip right there. All right, let's hit these phone lines and talk to you guys. No, I didn't bring up Micah because we talked about Micah in the D line room. We brought up Micah, if you guys remember. I'm not sure if you was here, Shiv, for defense ends, state of the unit defensive ends. So I put him in that as the Leo. All right, let's hear from Danny Savage this morning. Good morning, Danny.
Good morning, Sky. Good morning, Sky. It's been a while.
Indeed.
Wanted to wish you a happy belated Father's Day. It's been a while.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, here's my deal on an MLB room. As long as LVE and Clark stay healthy and Mozzie can just hold up some blockers, I think we'll be fine. But let's forget about Mozzie. Just stick with the linebackers. They got to stay healthy. And I've said this before. I'm just scared a little bit where both of my little linebackers have surgically repaired necks at a position where every play is a car crash. So I'm just a little worried about that. Because in the blink of an eye, we're looking at Cox and Overshown as our middle linebackers.
Well, I mean, football in general, at any given play, your career could be ended, right? So I'm not really worried about that for Damone Clark because he hadn't showed a history of injuries. But LVE, 100%. Every play, you're like holding your breath because he has an extreme history of being injured and being out. In fact, last year was his third year out of 4 seasons where he's missed at least 3 games.
And the picture you just shown where he was talking, like, he looks a little bit lighter even. Not much, 10, 15. He looks lighter in the face, so I don't know if he lost about 10 pounds or whatever.
Sure. Not sure. I know.
But, I mean, like I said.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I just know our people that are down there that have seen LVE, they can attest to if he's lost some weight or whatnot, but I'm not sure. Yeah.
So you think he's looking? DQ wants him to get lighter, wants him to get faster for the outside run. You think,
I don't know if he did. I'm saying, people like Pat Aisha, Brian, those guys have seen him up close and personal to be able to tell you if he's lost weight or whatnot. I'm not sure if he has, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, he looks
there
it in
she
his
is.
face.
So Aisha said he has leaned out a bit. There you go.
Yeah, okay, all right. Listen, I'm going to land the plane. Great show as always. I love it when you have Pat Walker on. The guy's wealth of knowledge.
Yes, he is.
Just one question. Are we going to do a fantasy league this year again or what? Talk to me. I know we got time. We're going to do it.
We didn't do a traditional one last year with Underdog. We're not going to be with Underdog this year, but I might do a regular one.
All right, screw them.
Yeah. I might do a regular because that one was weird. You really didn't have to follow it after the fact. I kind of like the whole. I might do it my own personal.
Different.
Yeah.
All right. And I'm going to land the plane. I'm just going to mention 2 names that I'm out for 2024.
All right.
And these guys are stars. Tommy Eichenberg, middle linebacker, Ohio State. Then Jeremiah Trotter Jr., Clemson.
Yeah.
2 monster middle linebackers. And I'm out. Great show as always.
Salute,
Talk
dude.
to you later, guys.
I thought Danny was about to hit us with a fantasy guy. Danny already in 2024 NFL draft. You gotta love him, man. Nah, Nikki, this is what is this? This is the different. I forget which company I have on. True Classics. There we go. Because I got a couple companies. True Classics, Nikki. All right, let's get to 808. Good morning. How are you?
How you doing, brother? It's Sonny from Wood.
What's up, Oos?
Hey, brother, what's called? Now, I just wanted to bring up a point. It's with the linebackers, it's a little scary because we know our linebackers and we see the potential, but it's obviously it's obvious that we have a lot of inexperience. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But the one thing I will bring up is if you remember back to the Panthers Super Bowl run, I mean, those linebackers were beautiful, gorgeous, amazing, man. Just the way they played. But the biggest unsung hero, and they weren't afraid to say it, was K'Wan Short. Then the thing was, Luke Kuechly was amazing in finding. He knew where the play was going to be, all type of stuff. Only reason why he was able to get there was because of K'Wan Short. And what's his name? Thomas wasn't afraid to say it either. You know what I mean? So I feel like, obviously, I'm not saying Damone Clark's going to have a defensive player of the year type of year. I'm just saying that in terms of development, this is the best way to do it. We got the big guys up front this year. I feel like Damone Clark and Jabril Cox, they're going to have plenty of room to grow with this.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely helps when you got guys in front. I mean, Micah talked about this a ton. He wanted a Deron Payne. He often brings up the Ravens defense and having guys on the interior to help those dudes. But that's just kind of football 101. I mean, as Cowboy fans, how many years have we been clamoring for that? And Rob Marinelli just flat out ignored it. And that's why I personally think Sean Lee's run with the Cowboys was so impressive, because they did not really have these power run type dudes on the interior to help keep him clean in that manner. He was just so damn good from an IQ standpoint and just as a linebacker that he got to the spot before anybody can touch him. So we don't have a Sean Lee. There's times you see LVE know where to go and try to get there, but he doesn't have the athleticism all the time. But when he's kept clean, it helps out. So if you keep these dudes clean, you got the athleticism. I think Damone Clark will take a jump in the mental game. And like Danny said, if those two stay healthy with this interior, yeah, I feel good about it. The problem is health with LVE, right? And then depth is super questionable.
Yeah. So the thing with that one is to see your take and stuff. We haven't picked up a linebacker. Obviously, we haven't even made the pickup yet, so nobody's really worried about it. But do you think they're so comfortable without making any huge moves in the linebacker space because of their trust in our big safeties? You know what I mean?
That's fair.
What's his name?
That's
Don coming up to the box and Curse coming up to the box. You think that's why we're kind of just like, strolling on through because we trust those guys to come on down and make these big tackles?
Sure. That is a fair thought process, right? Like, hey, man, we got three, or call it three, the depth. We got 2 or 3 big safeties that we think can come down and play big nickel, right? But so maybe from a depth standpoint, maybe they say we don't need 6 linebackers because we count one of the safeties as one. But you still need depth, I think, in the middle. So maybe right now, June 28th, they're not looking at it as we got to go out and get a linebacker. But once we get to camp, we saw this happen last year. They said, okay, Jabril Cox ain't quite ready yet. That knee is not where it needs to be, right? Damone Clark, obviously, he can't play at all. We need to go get somebody. So they went out and got an Anthony Barr. So as we speak, they may be looking at this thing as we don't need anybody. But once we get to camp, it would not shock me if they brought in a player to help with the depth of the actual linebacker room, not necessarily talking about the big nickel guys.
Yeah. But how do you feel about it, though? Are you worried about it? I would say I'm not worried about the starters. I just know we're one injury away from having a problem.
I've been kind of champion for Deion Jones since the end of the season. So, and this was before they went to the draft and got Overshown, but I don't know what they're going to do with Overshown. Overshown may convert, to big nickel. They may use him as kind of a Leo type guy. I don't know what they're going to do with him. But for 2023, and I've been saying this for a couple weeks now, I'm willing to sacrifice long-term development to try to get this thing done now. And if that means I got to bring in more competition, a guy like a Deion Jones, and that might push a guy like Overshown to a full-time special teams guy, then so be it. I'm trying to make sure I can secure that 6th ring, and I think you're going to need – I shouldn't say you're going to need. I think it would be helpful to have more depth, experience, quality depth. We don't want a bum, but quality depth behind the top 2 guys.
Okay, I feel you. I won't take up too much of your time. I'll leave off with this last song. I would think in terms of the middle, which I don't know necessarily how to feel about, I feel like they have depth within the middle because they have Micah. Because they know they can bring back Micah at any time. For me, I'm a little worried about bringing him off the pass rush. Just depends on how Sam Williams' development goes.
I mean,
I'll leave you with that, brother. You have a good day. God bless, brother.
Salute. Good stuff there. Maybe that's the X factor. The hell they gonna do with Micah? I just find it hard to believe they're gonna put him at linebacker. More than 20% of the time, I should say. Even with injuries, it feels like maybe they'll do a game there. Couple series, quarter, whatever. But I think, and we're just spitballing right now. Well, Micah came out and said, I'm focused on DE, right? We ran with it. Then Dan came out and said, whoa. No. He's a pass rushing linebacker. To me, that feels like Dan's not trying to give away the secrets right now. Dan is not trying to let the league know that, Micah is doing X, Y, Z. Because the allure of Micah, what makes him so difficult week in, week out is where the hell is Mike Parsons going to be? And maybe there is something to Micah being more defensive end. He already played 70-80% last year at defensive end, right? So it's not out of the question to think he'll play 75-85% more defensive end. But I think Dan is trying to put the brakes on this. Like, I don't want the league knowing what the hell we're doing with you, man. So let me go ahead and tap the brakes and keep them guessing, quote unquote, guessing of what's going on out there. So if Mike is going to be still full-time DE, it's hard for me to factor him in at the linebacker room unless they get in a pinch. Miles Jack, I think, did Miles Jack get picked up? Thought he got picked up. Can Micah kick field goals? Probably can. 5'6" what it is, what it do?
Hey, what's up, Sky? How you doing, bro?
I'm doing fantastic this morning. How are you?
I'm well, bro. Hey, man. So, yeah, love the show so far, bro. I was just thinking, man, do you think, with LVE, doing, practicing on the pass rush, I kind of think Dan might be kind of I don't know, you kind of did a little bit, but you know how New England run that defense where, 8 guys standing up on the line, you don't know who's coming, who's dropping back. Do you kind of think we kind of might be – I'm sorry?
I think it's called the amoeba defense. We've seen that here in Dallas.
Yeah, you think Dan might be trying to tap into that, Because, man, he can be so creative with all this pass rushers and linebackers that can cover. We could be so versatile, man.
I think we
do
are.
You think he might be trying to – Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But you think he might add that into the package a little bit,
I could be wrong, but I swear I feel like we've seen that Amoeba look before. In fact, I know we did because I took a screenshot of it.
And our defense a little bit, right?
I talked about it, I think, in 2021. I think it might have been the Chiefs game, but I know we've seen the whole everybody stands up, nobody got their hand in the ground. There's multiple DEs and linebackers on the field. So, he does that kind of, Frankenstein, freaky deaky stuff. But as for LVE, man, he's not going to be no pass rush. I know Pat came on here and was like, hey, I saw LVE down on the defensive line. We saw LVE do that last year, where he would line up on the outside and rush the passer. Me personally, I hate it. I personally don't like to see it because nobody's worried about no damn LVE rushing the passer from the end standpoint. So, and what bugged me the most, it was a Philly game, by the way. What bugged me the most was you had LVE on the end, and then you had Micah standing up. But that's just a waste of a down. Just put Micah at the defensive end and then have LVE at linebacker and less Boogie. What are we talking about?
Right. Yes, that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about, man. I was just thinking about that, man. Like, I know we're gonna be real versatile next year, and I'm just excited to see, man, how Dan gonna put this pot up, man. I'm kind of excited to see.
He working. I think he's gonna cook. He's got every single aspect of the team. I think he wanted when he originally came here. If you guys want to go back with me here for a second, remember he came in here and said, y'all don't value safeties? Get that shit out of here. I'm bringing in safeties. Y'all don't value run stop and defensive tackles? Get that shit out of here. I'm bringing in the Brent Urban. I'm drafting the big one tech. Now he's got both of those positions, but they're better, right? Like he's got better safeties now. He's got better interior guys. He's got everything you want to make this defense one of them ones. So, yeah, I think he's ready.
Yeah, I think so too, man. I think, man, we're going to have to think of a name, man, for this defense. Because it might be one of them legendary type defenses.
Y'all could do the names. We tried this, was it last year? We tried the names and then it backfired. Let's do this. Let's have a name once the season's over and hopefully we are hoisting that Lombardi. Figure me?
That's right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. That's the main goal.
Because we get a little bit ahead of ourselves. We talk about what we going to call this and call that. Next thing you know, now we sitting here at home twiddling our fingers, right? And honestly,
exactly.
If you humor me for a second, why we got to change it? Doomsday defense just feels like it's Cowboys. Whenever the Cowboys have a great defense, it should just be Doomsday. That's just me, but I digress.
I feel you, bro. Well, yeah, man, that's all I got to say, man. You have a blessed day, man. God bless.
Salute. Good call. Shout out to my bro Vach in the building. The freaky deaky defense. I don't know, man. I just keep hearing all these names. And it's fun to think about. And we definitely do it throughout the season. And then next thing you know, we go through a weird rut. And the next thing you know, we're exiting out the playoffs. I don't know how the names came about back in the 70s. But I'd imagine it was after they kind of accomplished things, right? I think this team has the potential. This defense has the potential to be one of them ones now because of the emphasis put on stopping the run. We talked about this a lot last year. Yeah, they can turn the ball over. They can do this, they can do that. But a lot of those great defenses, those all-time defenses, usually physically forced you to not run the ball, which helped them get to the quarterback so much easier, keep the points down, et cetera, et cetera. We were kind of in that mode for a couple seasons where, yeah, we made you not run the ball, but it was because we were scoring. Teams were able to run when they wanted to run. Now, that tightened up a bit once you got a Jonathan Hankins, and the playoff run is the example of that, but it still wasn't like that just quite yet. But now the potential is to be there. All right, probably last one here of the morning. D Shift, good morning, man.
Good morning, sir.
I actually apologize. Marcus is next. What's good?
Not much, man. Just with the linebacker talk, bro. I know Micah's not who we're considering, to be like an off-ball linebacker, I guess. Mm-hmm. But I kind of question as to why. You know what I mean? Just because of, like, if you think about, what this team could be, you're kind of just left back from the linebacker position. And so I know he's real important as a defensive end. But if I'm being kind of like I'm looking at what he's saying as far as like playing different positions, wanting to make impacts. Like, it's just kind of like, why can't he?
Oh, no, it ain't a matter of can't. It is not a matter of can't. That boy can definitely play the linebacker position. I said this is rookie season. I think he can be an elite linebacker if they wanted him to be. But I don't think they do.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you can put him like an elite player at that position at times, and that's and I guess that's all in, if the other guys on the defensive line, the young guys come up and can be just as productive from that point. So I don't know, man. I think if you can make like an elite unit with LVE, like that's one thing. But I mean, you got to try something different because he's been solid, but I don't know, bro. But appreciate you, man. I'll call in another time, and thank you, bro.
All right, appreciate you, Chip. Yeah, the only reason why is that they don't want to. I feel like if they wanted him to be pure middle linebacker guy, he'd be one of the best pure middle linebacker guys. Like, he's like that, in my opinion. Who just said that? Where'd you go? Somebody said, nah, man, we got to stamp it now as front running. I mean, go ahead. Go ahead. Give him a name, man. Y'all could do that. I have no problem with that. But nah, man. I feel like most, I mean, I could be wrong. I don't know. But I feel like most defenses kind of get that name that's acclaimed for forever when they accomplish that, right? There is no LOB if they do not win a Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? Nobody cares if the LOB and they get knocked out in the second round. You know what I mean? Like, who was remembering that? Nobody. They LOB because they got to the Super Bowl and they won the Super Bowl. So that's all I'm saying, man. Just if they can accomplish what the ultimate goal, hoist that Lombardi, whatever name y'all decide to give them in June 28th, it will then stick. But until then, it's just throwing a bunch of things out there. But I'm sticking with it. Doomsday, I think, is what the Cowboys defense should be. That's all. Let's get Marcus on the horn. What's good, Marcus? You keep going in and out, bro. You good? You going through a tunnel?
I don't know what's going on, man. My phone's just been.
And there he goes. They done kidnapped our guy, Marcus. Hello. I feel you, Matt. We'll see if we can get Marcus back on. Matt said, just win games, man. I ain't worried about no names. The name will come. That's how I look at it. It's a fun thing to do when it ain't nothing to do. But I feel like Doomsday. D-Shift said, it's like the Lakers being called the Lake Show. I'm not sure what you mean, bro. Let's see here. Win a Super Bowl or season, a failure when you're in Dallas. Yes, Danny. I mean, that's kind of what it is. You're right. It is Super Bowl or bust for the most part here in Dallas, for sure. Is Marv in the building? Ain't heard from Marv in the grip. Mr. or Mrs. Garcia, I can't pronounce the first name, says, Sky, do you believe that the organization made a mistake not taking Drew Sanders when he was there for the taking? Mute now, I know, but that has been nagging me since the draft. Oh, it's moot point. Moot point. And Coach Quinn, we trust. So, again, yeah, like you said, it's definitely spilt milk. But part of the reaction that me, Foots, and Vach had was the fact that Drew was sitting there and we went tight end. Would have went Drew at that point. Nonetheless, he ain't here. But yeah, I mean, are we going to, did you say regret it? Let me see here. Do I think it was a mistake? At the time, yeah, for sure. I ain't gonna lie. I definitely thought it was a mistake at the time. I'm over it now. I have no idea what Drew is doing wherever he's at. I think like to Denver or something. I don't know what he's doing over there, but yeah, I was high on Drew Sanders. I thought Drew Sanders could have been a really good fit here and been a part of the future of this team, but that's neither here nor there. I don't know if I'm gonna go as far as say a mistake at this moment, because how many of us or you are tripping because we didn't take him right now? Like, we're still looking at this defense as one of them ones, right? So yeah, I'm not tripping anymore, but at the time I definitely thought that Drew Sanders could help this defense. The fans got him tapped.
Super chat.
Shout out to Matt dropping 10 in the super chat, man. Hey, man, Matt, proud of you, man. I saw the tweet that you posted a couple days ago on your anniversary, getting through what you got through And we've all been at certain parts of our life, but you've definitely been at one where, you know, things got really grim. But here you are, bro. Proud of you, big dog. Professor O believes it was a mistake. Hoping for the best, though. Kind of where I'm at. You know, at the time, definitely felt so. I'm over it now. I don't know if I view it, if I'm going to go out on a limb, like, oh my God, we didn't take Drew Sanders. We still going to have one of the best defenses in the league. Still going to be nice. You know what I'm saying? 100% agree. Danny said middle linebacker was a stronger need than tight end round 2. Period. Iceberg is Lamb about to get the bag. Come on, man. You know he about to get paid. Let me get over here. I think we good. Marcus, I'm going to try to bring you back, but if I can't get you in here, Marcus, we're going to have to keep it moving, bro. Marcus, you good? Hello? Marcus. Man, I don't know. They must have kidnapped him, dog. No one to Marcus. All good. Let's get to these super chats if I missed any. Yep, I did. I missed 2 of them. Shout out to Chris, aka We Don't Wipe Them 304s. He dropped one, says, some Eagle fans I associate with at work that stepped over the line. I had to pull a Sky and maintain professionalism because I can't wait to beat the out of Philly. You know, I'm a work in progress, Chris. I'm still trying. Sometimes I still lose it, but I appreciate you. FRK
Super Chat
180 dropped 10. He says, salute to you, Sky. Deuce got to make people believers really soon. Deuce Vaughn, I imagine. Can't wait to see it. Thanks for continuing to provide phenomenal content during this off-season dead period. Thank you, 180, for the donation and the kind words. We trying, man. The community is definitely trying to keep you guys not only entertained, but informed through this said dead period. And then I just saw one CT Madhead
Super Chat
drop one and said, what does Lamb getting paid first mean for Diggs? Wait. Am I missing something? Wait a minute now. Are y'all telling me he just got paid? Like live on air? Oh, okay. So there's an update. Apparently, update, and I don't even like this dude on Twitter, but Cowboys are projected to sign Pro Bowl wide receiver CeeDee Lamb to a contract worth between 25 and 30 mil a year. God damn. Yeah, said it was going to be the most expensive one. Okay, so he's not signed. They're just talking about how much he would be signed for. And it was John Machota who, quote unquote, broke this. Wrote about this. Like, what am I missing there? Nothing's really changed, right? Dude just running with this. All right. All right. So it doesn't look like CeeDee Lamb has been signed or is expected to sign. But they did. I guess they have a number. John Machota must have brought up 25, 30 million. But we talked about this when we brought up the wide receiver room. CeeDee Lamb was going to be in that top tier of money. And I think when we talked about the state of the unit wide receivers, we brought up if they wanted to get out in front of a guy because of price, because of market, Lambs would be the one because that's only going to continue to rise. Whereas, let's be honest, Terrence Steele is not, I don't think, ever going to surpass a certain level from a market standpoint, money standpoint. Diggs, the cornerback market seems to be plateauing, right? Like it's increasing a bit, but it's not taking this crazy arc like the wide receiver money is. The wide receiver money is just going up. It's a passing league. It went from like 18 million a couple years ago, 20, 22, 25, 29, 30. So if they want to get ahead of Lamb so he's not, looking at a $35 million contract, if they tag him, $40 million contract, probably the best bet to do it is now. Okay, so it's just a projection. All right, cool. Appreciate you. Appreciate y'all. All right, look, that'll about do it for today's show. Appreciate y'all for jumping up in here. If you enjoyed it, on your way out, please hit that like button. Now, I'm not going to be on Vacha's show later because there is no Vach Lombardi show this week. However, I will be on the Final Word with my guy Boss Cowboy and the Final Word crew later tonight. So if y'all want to come through later, check it out. Make sure y'all tune in. I believe 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. Be on the Final Word talking Dallas Cowboys content. And at some point, I'd imagine we're all going to get together, whether it be during camp, after camp, right before the season, and run another what I call the Royal Rumble. Not that we was out there rumbling or anything, but it was just a lot of people. I think like 10, 11 of us last year when we did it. I had a good time, though, and I think it went well. So I'll be on the Final Word later talking Dallas Cowboys with that crew. So make sure y'all come through later tonight. Toxic says, Sky, you staying up late. That would be considered late for me when it comes to content. Funny thing is, that's what I used to do all the time. I didn't do a morning show. It was prime time type of stuff. It was 9 p.m., 10 p.m., sometimes later than that, depending on what happened or what broke. So, yeah, back to the little bit of the late night show with y'all. All right. So come through. Definitely getting a round table. I can for sure tell you that. We are getting a round table at some point during the off season, likely after training camp. Me and Vots are working out the days. It's looking like once they pad up, we'll be down there for a few days. And then I'd imagine when they come back down to Dallas, we'll probably get a Final Word somewhere. All right. Yes, sir. Quan B will be on the Final Word tonight. So make sure you come through and check that out. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and press this button. I will see y'all later tonight and probably tomorrow morning. Told y'all we still ain't got that schedule together. We still ain't got that schedule together. I'll figure it out. LNH was, the late night hype was, I think, trend setting. For sure. It's one thing I definitely am proud of is some of the things that I and we brought to this community. See y'all later. We out of here. Peace.